Beneath the sandy shores of Lelant, a quiet stretch of Cornwall hides tales of conflict, industrial might and transformation. This is Dynamite Quay, a site with a history as layered and intriguing as the granite and steel within its walls. Welcome back to History of Cornwall, where today we're at Lelant Quay, or commonly known as Dynamite Quay, due to the explosives once manufactured nearby and stored in what's left of this building here. The story begins in the 1870s when the granite quay was constructed, laying the foundation for decades of maritime activity. This area has witnessed a confluence of industry from shipbreaking to engineering. But the most interesting thing about this place, in my opinion, and the main focus of this video, is a revetment, now comprising of 3 separate sections, appears to have been built using sections of a ship's hull. Why? Who? When? All questions that I hope to answer in this video. The area of Lelant Quay, or Dynamite Quay, falls within a World Heritage Site and is also a site of special scientific interest. The most interesting thing about this place, as I mentioned in the introduction, is the revetment. It now comprises of 3 separate sections, but I would assume it was originally just one, and it appears to have been built using a section of a ship's hull. The site report, entitled Forgotten Wrecks of the First World War, Lelant Quay, Hayle, by the Maritime Archaeological Trust, states that the present granite quay was built in the 1870s along with the nearby railway. The site was later purchased by Thomas W. Ward in 1920, where a shipbreaking yard was established. The steel revetments would have been recycled from scrap vessels by T.S. Ward sometime during the 1920s. Features that are present in the surviving sections are consistent with a vessel built late 19th, early 20th century, and signs of damage are consistent with shell damage likely to have been sustained in the First World War. In 1920, a new chapter began. Thomas W. Ward, a pioneer of the shipbreaking industry originally from Sheffield, acquired the quay and established a yard. Cornishman newspaper reported on the extensive shipbreaking activity, with torpedo boat destroyers and larger vessels meeting their fate here. The yard buzzed with life, giving Hayle a much-needed economic boost, it reported.
Welcome news indeed. Hayle, at one time famous for its engineering works and explosives manufacture, has recently fallen on bad times. Cornishman, 13 October 1920.
Messrs. Thomas Ward and Sons, who have taken over the old shipyard and quay at Hayle, evidently do not intend to let the grass grow under their feet. On Saturday, by the afternoon tide, 2 torpedo boat destroyers were towed into the harbor and berthed near the slipway. These, we understand, are to be broken up, and will be followed by others. It is possible that Hayle will soon regain, and perhaps exceed, her old-time bustle and activity. Cornishman, 1920.
A torpedo boat destroyer went ashore at Hayle Bar whilst being towed to the shipbreaking yard at Hayle on Thursday. Cornishman, 1921.
The scrapping of 3 of the above in the area is confirmed by the reporting of the sale at Hayle of ship's furniture from Badger, Plover, and Alarm. Cornishman, 17th August 1921.
Extensive shipbreaking being carried on there. Cornishman, 1924.
planned with the arrival of the 35-year-old SS Cornishman, a four-masted single-funnel, 5,149-ton vessel, built by Harland and Wolff in Belfast, and considered one of the finest ships in existence for this type of work. Cornishman, 1926.
The liner Philadelphian is reported as being taken to Messrs. Ward's yard at Lelant Quay to be broken up. Western Morning News, 1933.
The Lady Dorothy, which made fast at Ward's Quay, Lelant during the weekend, is the first ship of any size to dock there since the Rosabelle was towed into Lelant to be broken up over 7 years ago. During the war, many invasion barges built at Hayle were moored alongside the quay, which was regularly used many decades ago when the shallow merchant ships could sail right up to St. Erth itself. Cornishman, 1946.
Ships of war or stories untold, now rest in peace where tides.
Many warships were taken to Lelant and Hayle for break-in over the years. Most were World War I warships, but some were slightly newer ships, and there was a lot of civilian ships also. Here is a list of all the military ships that I can find, along with the dates of their original launch and the date that they were sold to Wards for break-in. HMS Arran, launched 1903. HMS Choma, launched 1904. HMS Benita, launched 1907. Benita was sold for intended scrapping at Lelant, but finished up at Britain Ferry instead. HMS Marvel, 1915. HMS Alarm, 1911. HMS Pleiades, 1916. HMS Bristol, 1910. HMS Newcastle, 1909. HMS Larne, 1910. HMS Gabriel, 1915. HMS Tartar, 1907. HMS Nymph, 1911. HMS Badger, 1911. HMS Beaver, also 1911. HMS Acasta, 1912. HMS Cockeries, 1912. HMS Spitfire, 1912. HMS Leondius, 1913. HMS Mentor, 1914. HMS Nugent, 1917. HMS Pasley, 1916. HMS Plover, 1916. HMS Prince, 1916. HMS Oak, 1912. HMS Woolwich, 1912. HMS Sable, 1916. HMS Torrid, 1917. Torrid was sold to Lelant for scrapping, but didn't quite make it. It was wrecked whilst in tow on the 16th of March 1937. The ship ran aground to rocks near Falmouth, and the wreck was then broken up and scrapped in situ. HMS Sunflower, 1940. HMS Aberdeen, 1936. HMS Milford, 1932. The quay's revetment, built from recycled ship parts during the 1920s, incorporates section of hulls from these scrap vessels. Maritime archaeologists have identified signs consistent with shell damage from the First World War. Now, local reports state that the revetment at Lelant used the side of a First World War cruiser, HMS Newcastle, that was scrapped by Wards in Hayle in 1920s, and that this was a veteran of Jutland. But Richard Maskell of the shipnostalgia.com forum, using Ditmar and College's Index to British Warships, 1914 to 1918, identifies of the ships listed, only Oak, Marvel, Acasta, Spitfire and Badger were at the Battle of Jutland. So a more probable theory is that is published in Lost Ships of the West Country, Langley and Small, 1988, which describes the Lelant revetment as follows. The remains in the embankment are of an early torpedo boat destroyer, not a complete hull, but a large section of the port side, deeply embedded in the sand, at an area of superstructure plating, with scuttles still in position. It is impossible now to establish her identity, but she may well have been a veteran of Jutland. It can be seen from these two photographs of early torpedo boat destroyers. Torpedo boat destroyer portholes are unusually high in the hull and close to the gunwale, consistent with the remains at Lelant.
Spines undone under hammer and flame, their history spun. Oh, the waves they
So, to the Battle of Jutland. Fought from May the 31st to June the 1st in 1916, the Battle of Jutland was the largest naval battle of World War I and the only full-scale clash of battleships during the war. It took place in the North Sea near Denmark's Jutland Peninsula. The British Royal Navy's Grand Fleet, led by Admiral Sir John Jellicoe, faced off against the German High Seas Fleet under Vice Admiral Reinhard Scheer. The Germans aimed to weaken the British naval blockade by luring parts of the British fleet into a trap. However, British codebreakers intercepted their plans, allowing the Royal Navy to prepare. The battle involved over 250 ships and around 100,000 men. Both sides suffered heavy losses. Britain lost 14 ships and over 6,000 men, whilst Germany lost 11 ships and over 2,500 men. Although the battle was tactically inconclusive, it strategically favoured Britain. The German fleet avoided major engagements for the rest of the war, ensuring British dominance of the North Sea and maintaining a blockade that contributed to Germany's eventual defeat.
became the ground where new journeys could be found.
So, on a lighter note, not all entries to the shipbreaking yard were smooth operations. In 1921, the cruiser HMS Bristol was being towed into Lelant for scrapping. A miscalculation led to the ship entangling itself with the overhead power cables that stretched across the estuary from the nearby power station, resulting in a dramatic power outage that plunged much of West Cornwall into sudden darkness. A moment that has become part of local lore surrounding Dynamite Quay's storied past.
Oh, the waves.
So, today, the remnants embedded in the revetment serve as a poignant reminder of these ships' service and the industrial cycle of life and rebirth. Lelant Quay, now part of a World Heritage Site, stands as a testament to its multifaceted history. Its industrial past interweaves with the natural beauty and cultural significance of the area. The echoes of war and industry serve as a reminder of Cornwall's role in global events. From the Battle of Jutland to Dynamite Quay, history lives here. The steel revetment, the granite quay and the Cornish sands hold stories still waiting to be uncovered. What other secrets does this coastline conceal? So that's all for today. Please consider liking or even subscribing, and if you do that bell thingy, you'll be notified of my next discovery into the local history of Cornwall. Hope to see you next time. Thank you for joining me.
Under the sky where the salt winds call, Lelant stood proud by the breakers' wall. Ships of war or stories untold now rest in peace where tides unfold. Thomas W. Warren with sons at the helm brought giants here from another realm. Iron and steel, their spines undone under hammer and flame, their history